Today I have a James O'Brien clip where he really takes this idiot to task on a wealth tax. And I think this discourse is really important because although I don't agree with everything James O'Brien says, wealth tax, he seems to be on board. And we've got to push Labour to do this, otherwise they're dead. So let's get straight into the video where he kind of really just makes this guy look a complete idiot because this guy literally has no points against taxing the wealth and wealthy people of Britain.
Ideologically, I think you and I disagree like a lot. I listen to you sometimes. For Brexit, I voted to remain on on economic terms because I worked in finance, looked at the numbers, looked at the logic. I thought it was a terrible idea. I voted remain, right? So people that believe certain things don't all agree on everything.
Of course.
Which I think you sometimes point out. But other than that, the ideology of taxing somebody that made something of themselves. I don't know about the laws historically in Britain because obviously I was born here to foreign parents. I don't know how that bit of the society works. But people that come into
Very fucking well after World War II, the New Deal, where we built the NHS, we built tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of social housing, 90%, 91, 95%. It worked really well. And they know that. That's why they're so resistant to figures like Zoran Mondani, Gary Stevenson, people who are pushing for this. They know it's popular.
£20 million through their own hard work, why does anybody feel entitled to go?
You mean other? Again, all depends what you're doing. Often it's on the hard work of other people. It's the labourers. It's the people who actually create the wealth, not the people who own. That's what we need to really discuss. It's workers who create the majority of the wealth in the country. Like the top 400 families in the UK have the same amount of wealth as the bottom half of the population. We're talking like 34 million people against a couple of hundred families. It's unfair. It's not right morally.
To take anything of that, given that you already paid a 45% a year annually as is, to get to that point, why?
Well, for the same reasons that we tax at all. You're looking at a country in desperate need of finances, in desperate need of money, and you're asking yourself one very simple question: where are we going to get it from?
Well, how about spending, to our means? Does that make sense?
No.
Why not?
Well, what are our means? Our means depend on how much money we've got.
But that's the problem. Outside of London, there is no economy. What do we make? That is the big problem. London is based on financial assets, hedge funds, bonds, futures. That's how they make them. And a bit of money laundering, let's just say. What else do we do outside of that in the UK? Zero. Our economy is dead. That's the problem. And what did the Tories do for 14 years? We could have had a Green New Deal. We could have had a housing project. We could have had high-speed rail. We could have had amazing jobs. AI, the future. We could have a vision for the future in the UK. Nothing. Literally nothing. HS2 is symbolically what we are as an economy. Just pathetic.
Correct.
So suggesting that you could raise income tax, or you could go after wealth, you could go after money that accrues and grows year after year after year without the owners of that money doing anything.
And you said that my flat in central London is worth less than it was in 2015. So it's not true that
you work in finance.
Bullshit.
And I come from a nothing family. I went through like scholarships in Cambridge.
So that wouldn't be affected by a wealth tax then, because it hasn't increased your wealth at all.
No, but
and I presume it's not worth over 10.
It's not worth 10. No, but
it's not worth over £10 million, and we're exempting primary residences from this tax anyway.
No, I'm just saying there's a lot of people who work for their money and then they put it into whatever they like, be it property, be it whatever.
Yes, and then they make more money. So
do they though? Like people who make over 10 million, what value are they adding to the economy? They're not nurses, not teachers, they're not bin men, they're not cleaners. What value do they actually contribute to the economy? especially in London, if you're working in finance. I'm sorry, mate. If you can't buy a house or flat that increases value in London, you're in the wrong industry.
Taxing them on the money that they make.
Yeah, but it's already been taxed one time at 45%. Is that not enough, I'm saying?
No, of course it isn't, because it hasn't been taxed at 45%. The amount of money that your flat goes up by, and I appreciate you're the only person in London who's managed to buy a flat that's gone down in value over the last 10
No,
years.
since Brexit, the flats haven't gone up
You
at
have
all. You can check
nothing but sympathy for me for that. If you're getting taxed on the amount of money your flat has gone up in value by, how are you paying income tax on that?
The income tax I pay on my income with which I bought the flat.
Yeah, but the flat's going up in value, except for you. I've seen everybody else in central London.
The housing has, flats have not in all of
So
central
but
London.
here's the point. How are you paying
Bullshit.
income tax on the increase in your assets?
Bullshit.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Yes,
I'm
you are.
saying,
You're saying you're paying
I'm
it
saying
twice.
the
And I'm just,
income
how
was
have you paid income tax on the profits you've made from your assets?
Well, the assets, if you rent them out, you pay taxes on the rental. If you sell them
We're
later
not
on, you
talking
pay
about
taxes
that.
of gains tax.
We're not talking about that. We're asking how you have paid tax on the profits that you've made from your assets.
And I just said it to you. Every year I file my taxes and they're rented out. So I pay tax on the rent.
You're renting the property out, so it's not even your primary residence.
Right, and I'm paying tax on that already one time, aren't I?
Yes, you are, but you're not paying tax on the profit you make from the rising value of the property. And if it's not, and if it's not gone up in value, then you won't.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm just saying. So
I don't understand the point that you think. I don't understand the point that you think that you're making. Let's move on.
He isn't making a point.
No, I understand that, but you don't currently pay any. So, okay, look, while we're at it, explain to me how the Duke of Westminster has been responsible for building his fortune.
No, I just told you the historical. Because I want.
But you can't have a free pass on it. I want you to tell me why the Duke of Westminster shouldn't pay a wealth tax.
No, I don't disagree with that necessarily. So I told you, ideology, we're not opposites at everything, but you got to make it work for the better of the country. About like non-doms leaving, I know a few that are.
It is for the better for the majority, though. There's a small handful, well, a few hundred people, maybe. What you're talking about here, the one, really, we're talking about the 5% to 10% of the population. That's the thing, like, people don't realize how poor people are. If you're earning over even £100,000 in the UK, you're kind of pretty wealthy. But then you hit 10 million, you're kind of at the top. Not the top, you're not a billionaire. There's more billionaires now than there's ever been in the UK. I think there's at least a couple of hundred. But we can do this. Like, they will do anything not to pay their fair share.
Thinking about.
Yes, we all know a few that are thinking. Do you know any who have left?
One family I know went to Dubai already,
Yes.
just because of the inheritance on the money out with the Indians, right? They're like, my money in India has nothing to do with you. And if there's good schooling here, hang on, so it's in Dubai, so see you, then off I go.
Well, sayonara.
And that saddens me.
Well, does it?
Yes.
Well, they come to this country, benefit from all it has to offer, from all of the infrastructure that's been built by centuries.
See, this is why it's socialism for the rich and capitalism for everyone else. That they play by different rules. They're like, oh, what? I get all the benefits and I have to pay? Bye-bye. No. You need to pay your fair share. And again, Amazon, Google, Facebook, I mean, Starbucks, Vodafone, a lot of them don't pay the tax. They need to, well, they really need to crack down on the tax loopholes, go after the tax havens, and really just go after the wealthy. Like, it needs to be done. It's a moral imperative at this point.
Of taxpayers, and as soon as they're asked to do a little bit more for the benefit of the population, they're off. But let's not get distracted. Why would you, as someone, are you likely ever to be taxed on assets over £10 million?
You go talk to me in 10 years, I don't know.
No, okay. That's the answer, actually. You've just provided it without me even getting the question out there. So you're thinking about future much richer you?
No, I'm not thinking of what I'm thinking about is the
you
good
are.
of
You
the
just
country.
said that.
No, I'm telling you from my heart, right? I said, like, in Brexit we agreed. I'm saying mentality of British people, if it was to go make something of yours, rather than take something of another.
This is what John in Edinburgh said. He said this is how the argument works. You don't talk about the king. You don't talk about the Duke of...
Yeah, but the chances of you getting to that state is impossible in the UK. There is no social mobility. The socioeconomic status you're born into, which is for most people pretty poor, is it's your destination. It's your destiny in life. So the idea that, oh yeah, if you just work hard, if you get a scholarship in Cambridge like he did, you can rent a flat out in central London. No, you can't. These people don't live in reality. They literally live in a different reality.
Westminster, you don't talk about the Earl of Leicester, you don't talk about any of these fortunes that have been around since 1066, because the only way you can possibly ever protect that inequality is by conjuring up people who've just left to go to Dubai or some mythical.
But what about the American tech fortunes that are like 10 years old?
So, well, I think Bill Gates himself has pointed out that if he paid 99% tax, he'd still be a billionaire. What does he lose, Benjamin?
He loses 99% of his work.
But he's still a billionaire. He's still one of the richest people in the world.
Who sets the cap?
Well, everybody cares because they're looking at a country that they think needs.
See, that's his attitude to it. It's like there is no limit on wealth. You can just and then fuck everyone else. Fuck the rest of society. They didn't work. They weren't Bill Gates. Although what's Bill Gates done? He has a monopoly of Microsoft of a poor product. He's not adding value. People use Google Docs now. What is Bill Gates fucking doing? Like, they don't really provide value in society. For the people that do, which is your average person, that's who should be getting a fair wage. But no, for him, it's like, yes, well, I worked hard, I work in finance, and I went out a property that hasn't gained in value in the last 10 years. Bullshit.
Epic infrastructure investment, and where poverty is endemic. Pardon?
All better spending of the resources we already have today.
Yeah, I mean,
better management, less waste.
Yeah, there we go. Better management, less waste. All of those things are interesting, but we've been listening to that mantra for 50 years. Well, maybe it's time to try something new. We just had 14 years of austerity, mate. We had 14 years of cuts to everything from police numbers right through to filling in potholes and looking after newborn children. So we've done all that. We've tried it all. Do you think it's worked? Do you feel better off now as a citizen of this country? Do you think the infrastructure, the public services, the sense of community, the cohesion is better or worse than it was in 2010?
Badly. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
We've had 14 years.
You can't be, though. If you're saying live within our means, whatever that means, 14 years of austerity, hundreds of thousands of deaths, 300,000 deaths, pandemic, which is worst handling you can imagine. Like, you can't have it both ways. We need to either tax the wealth, that's doubled since 2020, since COVID, or do what Labour are doing, not cutting the 2-child cap welfare for literally would just take tens of thousands of children out of poverty. They could do it like that. They're not taxing the wealth, although they might do it, but will they just do a tokenistic gesture? Probably at best. Like, that's the options we have.
Of trying to do what you just decided, so why not try something new? No, you can't. Well, you can, but I just want your help with something else, because I'm glad you began by establishing some common ground that we might have, because psychologically we're clearly very, very different.
Sure. But I also come from nothing. That's the thing. Like, it's
well, yeah. I mean, most people come from nothing, and sadly, most people return to nothing, clogs to clogs, within 3 generations, and that is that's precise the reason why that is a figure of speech.
But I want to give you an example of something else which bothers me too.
Well, it's not that kind of phoning. I want your help in understanding what you think they lose. So if you introduced a wealth tax on all people with assets over,
I think the liquid people will leave.
Can you answer a question when I haven't even finished asking?
Yeah.
They would still be the richest people in the country. They'd still be the richest people in the world. What do they lose? But maybe you have a better insight into that mindset than I do. What do they lose by helping everybody else out more?
The ones that can run away, pack up and run. The ones that can't, we might get a share of theirs.
No, but why would you want to run away? That's the bit I don't get. What are they running away from?
To to lower tax jurisdictions.
Yes, but
And you
why?
mentioned
Why do they
Swift,
need
you
so
mentioned
much?
Swift,
Why do they need so
income
much?
tax is 20% there.
Why do they need so much?
Human nature, greed ingrained
It's
into the
not though,
DNA.
is it? It's not though. You see, and that's the fascinating thing, because it is for some people. And if you recognise under your own logic that these people are essentially the greediest, then surely they should be at the very front of the queue for people who the society in which they become incredibly rich should be demanding recompense from. And what better way to do it than on the benefits of what you've just described as their innate greed than through taxation? Because the massive majority of people in this country are not motivated by greed.
I mean, I'm not sure if I agree with that.
Oh, well, I'm pretty clear on why you wouldn't. But trust me, that's the problem. I mean, and as you said yourself, you'd have to come back to me in 10 years and find out how rich I am. And therein lies John Steinbeck's immortal line about there being no such thing as poverty in Dust Bowl era America, just temporarily frustrated millionaires. So you get how it works with some people. How does it work with others?
Well, I mean,
So that's it. They just hate you. That's the reason why. They just fucking hate you. They could have all the money in the world. They want to accumulate more. It's a mental illness. It really is. It's a pathological desire just accumulate constantly and fuck everyone else. Like literally, like why should they care? In their eyes, like they worked hard. You didn't. You're the problem. And we faced this 100 years ago with the robber barons in America. We need radical action against these people because these are the people that are destroying our country. Not trans people, not immigrants, asylum seekers, refugees, these people. So, see you next time.